Good day, everybody. We got 5 minutes on the clock. What is your name and what is your podcast show?
My name is Dave Gulas, and the podcast is called Beyond Fulfillment. We
Beyond
spotlight,
Fulfillment. That sounds cool. All
yeah.
right, tell us about your show and what have you learned?
Okay, so we spotlight the entrepreneurial journey. So every week we interview different entrepreneurs, talk about what it was like, challenges they overcome, pivots they had to make, lessons they've learned, and how this started too. So I'm a startup founder. Our company's nearly 2 years old and had a lot of challenges early on. And the biggest sense of or source of learning and value I got was conversations with other founders, other entrepreneurs, whether I met them out at trade shows or events or networking calls and whatnot. And one day the idea dawned on me, I should just start a podcast because if I put these conversations in a public forum, other people could benefit from these same stories. The guests would get publicity, I would get publicity. It would be a true win-win. And at that time, I knew nothing at all about podcasting. This is 9 months ago, but I said, you know what? I've got to do this. So, I have a marketing team that helps me with social media. So I said, hey, how can we do this? They gave me some quick, easy ways to bootstrap it and get it up and running right away. Record over Zoom, post it just on YouTube right away. And so we put an announcement out before anything was done, got a positive response. I got the first guest volunteered, so I booked that immediately. And we were published on YouTube less than 30 days from when I had the initial idea to even start a podcast.
That terrifies some people, right? So I've worked, we've built a bunch of shows and such, but like when working with someone and they're like looking at their, I don't know how to do this, and they get this like analysis paralysis before they actually publish. How did you break through that?
Oh man, I just realized too that if you can get past that fear, because I hear in so many stories and look at the stats, people quit so early, they're not consistent. And I realized early on in the founder journey is like you have to let as many people as possible know who you are if you're going to be successful. So, and you realize too how hard it is to get people to pay attention, how much work you have to put in. So that whole spotlight effect where you're so self-conscious and worried about what people are thinking about you. I mean, it's really just a myth. It's a lot of work to get people to even think about it, which is what you want. So I realized too the power of that momentum and just to keep doing it and stay in motion. And even though I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, we kept doing it and we figured it out along the way. And we just released our 50th episode yesterday.
Wow, dude, that's huge. So, Alex Hermosi gave a stat. If you've done more than 22 episodes, then you are in the top 1% podcasters of the world because most people quit before episode number 22. So you are now a 1% podcaster in the world, according to Alex. What is one of the greatest things that you've learned? So the power of momentum, getting started, just moving forward, figuring it out. If you look back and you're like, man, that was a valuable lesson that I could apply to my life.
Well, another piece of that too is just doubling down on your strengths. So like for me, for instance, I've been in sales my entire adult life, right? So I'm used to that. So I'm used to having a funnel, having a marketing system, prospecting all the time, and lining up podcast guests and doing the interviews is the same thing, right? You have to ask a bunch of people. Many are going to say no. You have to be okay with that. And then you have to do the interview. So I've been doing this type of stuff. And I realized if I just focus on those core strengths, then I can outsource what I'm not really meant to do, the technical stuff and, whatever graphics or other kind of things, and I can just outsource that. That in itself, right? Because I really enjoy the process. Even though it takes time, it doesn't feel like work to me. So if you can find those areas where you're strong at, focus on that and outsource the rest, that's a key principle to move things forward.
Man, that's so brilliant. And it's sometimes hard to outsource a weakness. So let me ask this, like, what was the first thing that you outsourced that you were super proud about? And then one more time at the end, you could wrap us up. Where can people go to find your podcast?
I mean, just all the back end editing, right? I still don't even know like the process, but I don't need to. So all I had to focus on was doing the interviews and getting better at that. Yeah, and the podcast is called Beyond Fulfillment. We're everywhere now. And you can go to davegulas.com, DAVEGULAS.com to see links to everything I do.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, we did that all in 5 minutes or less. As always, reach out to our guests, say thanks for being on the show. Now, if you have a podcast show or YouTube channel that you'd like to talk about here on Podcast Host Army, that's the website, podcasthostarmy.com. Fill out a quick form, maybe get you on the show next. Till then, we'll talk to you all on the next episode. Bye, everyone.